Thank you, everyone. You all can hear me okay?
Yes.
Super.
Hi, folks.
So it's been a very interesting event, to say the least. Here we are shaping the decade for India, and it seems to be a really glowing future. I'd like to start with just kind of setting a little context for the conversation we're going to have today around evolved cloud. 5 years ago, we heard The Economist coin this phrase around data is the new oil. Since then, we've been hearing all kinds of these metaphors, right? There's conversations that we are having around SaaS apps. They are the new platform. We are talking about APIs being the new pipelines through which data is flowing, etc. And you may have your own favorites, but one thing is for sure that there is a tremendous reality and potential in what these data pipelines have accomplished for us, right? And I think that's what we're going to be discussing today. So let me start with kind of a little bit of both introducing our my guests, our panelists. So let me start with you, Kavita. Kavita, you, of course, you've established a very strong reputation in the world around DevOps. If you can kind of just give us a brief introduction.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Kavita Viswanath. I'm here representing JFrog. We are a DevOps automation organization. I've spent about the past couple of decades in the technology industry. I love playing with new age disruptive technologies, and I believe that DevOps is one such thing that we are seeing kind of lighting the back end of the infrastructure on fire, given where cloud is taking off now. So yeah, that's me.
Super. So I'm hoping with you we get this insight into how the infrastructure is being able to adapt or create such massive scale. Steve, I wanted to introduce you. Steve Van Kuiken, global leader of McKinsey Technology. You founded the healthcare practice at McKinsey about 2 decades ago. You've been spoken of and you speak very frequently at events. If you could give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here, everybody. Steve Van Kuiken, senior partner at McKinsey. I lead McKinsey Technology globally, and I founded our cloud practice as well a number of years back. And yeah, you're referring to healthcare technology was my origin, but work across industries today.
Super. So again, I think, Steve, I've read a lot of the work that you've done recently. Also heard a lot about how you've gotten entire institutions to transform themselves on this journey to cloud. So looking forward to those insights also. Kind of just set broader context. India's on a path to being a $3 trillion economy. Cloud is going to be an enabler, about 350 billion of that, at least. That's where we stand. There's also the other fact that in that same period leading into 2030, there's about somewhere between 30 million youngsters that are going to enter the workforce. And so there's tremendous amount of potential for what this kind of brings to the country. And I think that's the kind of conversation we want to be able to have today with our guests. Disruption creates opportunity. And that's kind of going to be the theme that I'd like to be able to take. Let me start with the first topic. Steve, maybe start with you.
Yeah.
If you look at innovation, traditionally, we think of semiconductors, we think of software, we think of compute systems, we now think of cloud. But then you walk around the halls out here and innovation means something very different. These are businesses built on technology, not building technology. Just your perspective.
So cloud is becoming a critical enabler of every business. I think all of us are in this room know that. And we're in the very early stages of it. So it's a $280 billion market today. We believe it's going to grow to $430 billion by 2025. So it's going to continue at a pretty rapid pace. In my travels, I would say almost every company is going through a transformation right now. The real question is the pace of change, the ambition they have, and what they're actually getting for it today. But almost everyone's going through it. One of the interesting things about innovation now is with cloud and with automation and the capability that it brings, innovation is moving to the edge of the enterprise. So what's happening is it's not the technology innovation is not the domain of the IT organization anymore, and what we're seeing is companies are putting innovation in the hands of frontline workers, whether it's the marketer, it's the scientist, and that trend is going to continue. So we're going to see a democratization of technology driven by the cloud, and we're already seeing that in companies where spending is increasing at the BU level. And I think that also, the significant growth during the pandemic will flatten out a little bit. We're going to continue to see growth in technology spending. The last thing I'd say is the pace of change now is happening so fast for non-tech companies. And I think one of the key things that companies will need to do now is build a capacity for continuous change. Because you can't manage any single tech trend anymore. You have to know how to absorb change within your enterprise and take that as a constant in this future world.
I think we're seeing it, Steve. Ordinary businesses are also beginning to realize that a large source of their ability to be able to pivot up to new opportunities is understanding technology.
That's right.
And being able to capitalize that. Kavita, to you, because I think your company, your business, the field you've been in has been doing a lot to be able to enable this adoption of technology at scale.
Absolutely.
You want to talk about that?
And to Steve's point, I'm going to pick on the point of trend. What's trending now is each of us have a minimum of 2 devices, and I'm just talking phones, plus a compute device, which is a laptop or maybe another one at home, right? So all of us are dealing with devices which are multiplying by the hour, and we are staring at a future where we see at least 5 billion plus devices by the end of 2025, each of it being a computing device of its own. So the scale of software management, the scale at which the world is kind of expanding digitally in terms of our digital footprint is massive. Now, in this world, when you have to manage so many devices, you have to take care of security of these devices, you have to remote monitor, control them, have the right software updates being pushed to these devices, because each of these devices are also a security threat. You're transacting with the rest of the world using these devices, right? So I think that's the scale that we try to solve and manage through the DevOps platform. And I think, COVID or no COVID, I don't think this trend is going to change anytime in the near future.
Completely agree. On behalf of my 91-year-old mother-in-law, who I know calls me every time her iPad doesn't connect to the internet, right? The world has kind of irreversibly changed and stuff.
Absolutely.
I'd like to kind of just draw this back to, even the reality. I was telling you all in the break before this, my vacation recently, I went with my wife, we were in Kunur, and we decided, I didn't realize she'd never been to Kunur. I've been there many times since my childhood. We decided we'd take the train. So I asked the driver of our cab, let's just stop at the station. I'll buy tickets for the evening. And he says, do it on the phone. I said, we are already here, stop. So I'm number 5 in line. And I've been given a form, and I'm trying to fill it. And I realized, let me use the phone. I reached the line in about 6 minutes. By then, on my phone, I'd got my reservations and a confirmation. All I had to ask him was, did I do it right? India has changed, right? Irreversibly, it's changed for all of us. So let me
Ravi,
talk about,
I just want to point out one thing. Your kids are supposed to be tech support for grandma, not you. So keep it.
They're busy changing the world, apparently. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Disrupting the world, yes. So let's kind of get to the next natural progression in this topic. Cloud has enabled incredible amount of agility and scale. We are all living it, right? We all also felt it's a completely new world. It's enabling new kind of developers. They were doing things at massive scale. There's no stopping people. Cost and complexity are concerns of the past. Apparently not so. Steve, you want to take first crack?
So I think the move to cloud, again, what I'm seeing is it's becoming a CEO decision as much as a CIO decision, which means simplicity of the transformation is important. Also that all the players are working together. So alliances become very important for big tech services firms who are doing migrations. They have to work well with the CSPs, and clients want to see that. The other thing that's happening is reference cases become really important, then distinctive skill sets. There's also a huge explosion in cloud specialist firms, and we're seeing hundreds of them, and they're growing at 25 to 30% because there's so many unique needs around cloud that are creating demand for these companies. So if you are, and if I think of my clients who are running big cloud transformations, they have many of these companies within the enterprise. They're trying to manage a more fragmented environment. And frankly, and this is also plays out in the data, they're struggling to get the business value that's promised by cloud. So what's happening is you're seeing a trend towards migration first, lift and shift, before the move into the business value is really being made. And that's actually slowing down some cloud progress. So I think the challenge for everyone in this room when we think about cloud is how do you make the linkage to business value, and how do you think about what are the use cases based on a cloud platform that are really going to change the way the business operates. And that, as that shift is made, we're going to start to see the kind of acceleration we talked about earlier in your first question.
Well stated, Steve. And I think any business that doesn't do that is going to find somebody coming after their lunch, because
That's right.
they are going to do it. I'm also struck by, remember, one of the larger hyperscaler cloud conferences that I was in at Vegas. That room was dominated by this ecosystem of partners.
Yes.
All of them kind of helping you ramp on to cloud really, really fast. Kavita, you, of course, very familiar with this around basically how do you allow businesses to achieve scale, kind of navigate this complexity, drive down the cost of things.
Yeah, when I think of cloud and scale and complexity, the first thing that comes to my mind is security. Okay, I think the world as such and technology as such has become so complicated now, layered, with microservices coming in. Everybody's on Kubernetes, Docker, Rust. You think of the technology, and everyone is developing apps around it. Now, when you're living in such a complex world, you need to be able to invest right in the right kind of security tools. And this is not something that the CISO or the security organization is responsible for anymore. It becomes every individual's responsibility in the organization. And this is where we are seeing a shift in trend, where developers need to take ownership of security for the code that they develop, for the releases that they do.
Right.
And this is where things are getting complicated. So when I think of cloud, when I think of multi-cloud, hybrid setups, complexity, scale, the first place that I see our customers and C-level executives really going all out is in terms of securing their enterprises. And this is the first bang for the buck that you get in terms of your ROI. And then, of course, prioritizing the rest of your use cases to say, where do you want to put your money first? Because investing in the right kind of cloud technologies is more important than just being cloud first. So this is where we see the world kind of changing.
Can I emphasize this point? This is a very important point about you can't control now. I mean, you have to influence, but because the technology is now touching all parts of the enterprise, you need new processes and capabilities to manage that, and you need education of the end user in terms of how because these technologies now are very powerful, and they're going to get more and more powerful. So the ability to manage that is incredibly complex, and the CIO today has a very tough job. They're the chief strategy officer because now they have to be very engaged in the business strategy. They're the chief transformation officer because they have to modernize the organization, and then there's still the CTO, the chief technology officer. So how that role evolves and how the role of the IT organization evolves to support all of this, I think it will be dramatic over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we're having a very broad, multifaceted conversation. I'm going to kind of just try and wrap this back into maybe something. But I'm reminded when you speak, Kavita, as consumers of technology in tech firms, we struggled with even things like the introduction of multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Just remember how upset people were. But now that you do it, nobody takes. I mean, we deal with OTPs, Steve, as a normal course of day-to-day life. I probably enter an OTP about 30 times in India, including paying for lunch, right? So the world has changed. And again, I think the businesses, even after they realize they want to adopt this technology well, they do need the tooling and they do need the infrastructure that makes it seamless. Um, Training somebody into kind of writing secure software, I think it's been done. Now you need the platforms that allow you to do it. And I think that's what you're referring to.
Absolutely. Without the right set of tools, you don't see productivity in your developer organization, right? Because you need to enable your developers with the right kind of tools. No matter how much you want to democratize technology and not bind your developer to a certain set of tools or languages, you still need the right set of tools to make sure that they are productive at the end of the day. And this is what we do. This also helps you connect back to the investments that the organization has made in terms of the right infrastructure and standardizing some of these processes, which helps you ultimately deliver value to your end customer.
Superb. Steve, one question that's striking me top of mind.
Yeah.
Security used to be the job of the developer. It used to be the job of the employee in the organization. You needed to secure the corporate asset. But now when you put this in context of privacy of data, the governance of data, by vertical, so healthcare has a different set of rules as financial services do. India, fintech is booming. Core banking systems are completely separate. This is a complex world, and every country is doing it differently. Data sovereignty things come in. How is a business supposed to keep track of all of this? Your views on this, maybe.
That's also almost an impossible question
Question to answer, but some framework to think
well,
about.
listen, data governance, data architecture, many companies are struggling with this today, and building a layer that allows them to manage their data thoughtfully, and doing I keep talking about education, but the education of the front, because now everyone's got their hands on data, and sometimes sensitive data.
Yep.
And regulation, you're right, is increasing. I think this is an area of an incredible importance. By the way, if I throw out statistics again, this whole area of data in the cloud, that's growing the fastest, like at a 60% per year rate. Because this is a problem everyone's trying to deal with. Everyone's trying to get a handle on their data. They're actually trying to share the same data. They're therefore trying to build standards around that data. And I think it's, I frankly think we're behind the curve right now. And the use of the data is outstripping the ability to manage that data effectively. So this is a top issue for companies to deal with. I think if you're a good chief data officer right now, you can name your price, because everyone's looking for enterprise chief data officers, just given this challenge.
Really insightful things that you talked about, lessons I take even for our business, because if you're in the product side of the house, right, you start looking at this notion that we think of data as oil. Okay, what does that really mean? So somebody that's doing healthcare analytics or vaccine development or creating a new financial service on the back of data, that's one level of monetization. Enabling them to be able to manage that infra at scale, Kavita, I think that's what you've been talking to us about. And then as you look at the fact that there's all this data everywhere, it all needs to be governed, you're trying to extract value, you're trying to protect it, you're trying to respect the privacy of individuals, you're doing it in a myriad of ways. It looks like there is another decade of innovation ahead of us just on something that we feel is a solved problem. You all agree? Yeah?
100%. And I can tell you that no amount of AI, Chat GPT, or any of those wonderful things that are coming up now is going to cut short this journey. I think it's going to make us more powerful. It's really going to enable us to solve these problems all the more. If you just look back a decade ago, or let's just take 5 years, right? The technology that we used and the tools that we used have changed so drastically. And I don't think it's really taken anything away from us as technocrats. It's in fact made us more powerful and enabled us to do much, deliver more quality stuff, I would say.
Well, thank you. Are we under any kind of time constraint, or can we just go Let me just let me try and get to some, just shift topics again, kind of get to topic number 3, close to my heart, right? So we talk about AI, we are talking about automation, we are talking about how it's simplifying lives. There is also some fear. There's a little bit of the perils of automation. Do they take away jobs? There's also the promise, right? We've seen in the history of technology, we've always worried about something going wrong, and we've almost always ended up in a place where it's benefited us greatly. Just any perspective on 30 billion youngsters in India, 30 million youngsters in India that we need to carry forward now. Thoughts on, how can we use this as an opportunity to kind of carry folks into the mainstream?
So I believe that all of this is really going to empower us to do better work as technologists. And definitely the world is getting more layered. Technology is getting more layered. If you look at any businesses today, I don't believe there is a standalone business that is non-tech. Even an automotive company is actually a tech company, which is, running a machine on top of it. So there is a ton of opportunities out there for any youngsters, much more than what it used to be when we were young and, we just came out as Java developers to begin our journey with. And that's really how I see the world from the lens of an optimist.
Super.
Yeah, maybe I'll add, our early analysis on generative AI suggests that for low complexity development, 30 to 50% of that can be taken over by generative AI. That's not true for high complexity development, but we don't believe that that's going to reduce it. What it's going to do is just shift the work mix to higher complexity problems, which is going to put more of a burden on training and development and skill development. And the other point I would make is these technologies become more powerful. They're going to require very good judgment. So maturity and judgment, I think, will be important for India's youth as well. Understanding how do you use the power of this technology in the right way, because things can go very badly, to some of your points, given all the issues with this technology. So I think it'll be an incredibly exciting future, but it's going to take a broad set of skills to really take advantage of it the way it can be taken advantage of.
I'd like to take a moment to maybe make one plug, but a plug for nasscom and for this platform they've developed. And if you all aren't familiar with it, all of you should. There's this platform they've built called the Future Skills Platform.
Yeah.
So as a small business, we looked at it. And I think NetApp is a medium-sized business compared to scale of many. But when we started looking at what can we contribute, we started thinking about a program around data intelligence. Now, it turns out you can conceptualize a program like this, and you can build it on future skills. So you can kind of figure, I'm going to design a curriculum. And then they've got the mechanism to be able to transmit this at scale across India. And I think there again is another aspect of, there are things that we can do. I think we're at the tail end of our presentation. I really want to thank both of you. This has been a very diverse set of kind of experiences to bring onto this panel. I also think that we've I'm going to get this again on this panel like I've got in the past. People will say not enough time. And I wish we could have spoken more. So I'm thinking both of you are going to be around a bit and people can reach out to you. I'll say one thing. I'm really grateful for the industry and the time I've been born in, because I really think there's this one catch line all of us in technologists use, right? We think technology is changing the world for the better. I just feel so glad to be able to participate. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you very
all
much.
of you for
Thank
listening.
you. Thank you so much, Ravi, Steve, and Kavita.
For more interesting content, like, comment, and subscribe to our NASSCOM YouTube channel.